Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. When a man loses a real woman, it doesn't hit him right away. At first, he thinks he's free. He thinks he's fine. He convinces himself life will be better without her. But then reality strikes, and it strikes hard. He starts to see her face in every memory. He feels her absence in every quiet moment. And suddenly he realizes he didn't just lose a woman, he lost the rarest treasure life ever handed him. And that regret, it doesn't fade. It grows, it lingers, and it follows him for the rest of his life. And when he realizes he lost a real woman, it doesn't hit him all at once. At first, he might feel free, relieved even. He convinces himself that he can do better, that the grass might be greener, that his life without you will somehow be easier. He distracts himself. He throws himself into temporary highs, other women, nights out, shallow validation. And for a while, he might even believe the story he tells himself. But here's the truth. Reality always shows up. And when it does, it comes with a weight he wasn't prepared to carry. And because the day always comes when he looks around and realizes that no matter who he's with, no matter how many people flatter him or give him attention, none of them compare to you. He remembers your energy, the way you carried yourself, the way you brought life into his world. He remembers the laughter, the support, the way you inspired him to be better without even trying. And suddenly, he's left with an ache he can't numb. And when a man loses a real woman, it's not just the loss of love, it's the loss of something irreplaceable. You see, a real woman isn't just a partner, she's an atmosphere. She brings warmth into a cold room. She turns silence into comfort instead of awkwardness. She challenges you, but also believes in you. She sees your flaws, but doesn't weaponize them and wheeze. And that's gone. He starts to realize how rare it was to have it in the first place. And at first he might chase distraction, but distraction fades. What doesn't fade is the memory of how he felt when he was with you. He remembers how grounded he was in your presence, how safe he felt to be vulnerable, even when he wouldn't admit it. He remembers how when life got heavy, you were the one who carried some of the weight without complaining. That kind of energy isn't replaceable. That kind of love isn't found on every street corner. And when he realizes that, regret begins to creep in. And the regret doesn't always show up as a dramatic breakdown. Sometimes it's subtle. He sees a couple laughing in a cafe and thinks of how effortless things were with you. He scrolls through his phone late at night, thinking of sending a message he'll never actually send. He replays old memories, tiny details, things he didn't think mattered at the time, but now feel monumental. The way you used to say his name, the way you made even ordinary days feel special. These thoughts start haunting him in the quiet moments when there's no one else around. And let's be honest, pride gets in the way. He may never admit to anyone how much it stings. He may never say out loud how badly he wants to turn back the clock. But he feels it. Deep down, he knows he lost something valuable. And no matter how many people come into his life, none of them carry the same light. That's the reality of losing a real woman. And see, a real woman doesn't beg to be appreciated. She doesn't lower her standards to convince someone of her worth. She simply shows up authentically, gives her best, and if someone can't see it, she lets them go. That's what makes the loss cut even deeper for him, because he knows you didn't leave from a place of weakness. You left from a place of strength. You loved, you gave, you invested. And then when it wasn't reciprocated, you chose yourself. That's the kind of choice that keeps a man awake at night. And because deep down he knows he didn't just lose you, he lost the version of himself that existed with you. He lost the encouragement, the motivation, the emotional sanctuary you provided. He lost the one person who could see past his mask and connect with the man underneath. And when he realizes that, the weight of that loss doesn't just fade away. It lingers. It stays with him, reminding him of what he let slip through his fingers. But here's the part he doesn't understand at first. Losing a real woman isn't just about missing her presence. It's about facing himself. Because when you're with a woman of value, she reflects your potential back at you. She makes you want to rise, to grow, to be worthy of the love you're receiving. And when that's gone, he's left with a mirror he can't escape. He sees who he is without you. And it's not always a pretty picture. That's why the loss feels so heavy, because it forces him to confront what he took for granted. And in time, he'll realize that the little things mattered most. The way you supported his dreams without making it about yourself. The way you gave love without keeping score. The way you forgave mistakes but never stopped holding him accountable to be better. That balance is something rare, and when he looks for it elsewhere, he'll find that most people can't give what you gave. He'll meet people who want attention but can't offer depth. He'll meet people who want the benefits of love without the responsibility. And he'll finally understand just how much of a gift you truly were. And the more he realizes it, the more the regret grows. It's not just about missing you. It's about knowing he didn't rise to meet the standard you set. It's about knowing that while you walked away with your integrity, your dignity, and your value intact, he was left with emptiness. Because here's the truth. When a man loses a real woo, Oman, the loss doesn't just echo in his heart, it echoes in his future. He will measure every connection against the one he had with you. He will look for pieces of you in others, but he won't find the whole. And the thought that he had it once but let it slip away will follow him everywhere. And he may smile, he may move on, he may even fall into new relationships. But deep down, there will always be a part of him that knows he let go of something extraordinary. And that's the cost of not appreciating a real woman when she's in your life. The cost isn't just loneliness. It's the silent, gnawing realization that he lost something he'll never truly get back. And that is how he feels when the truth hits him. Not in one dramatic explosion, but in waves. Waves of memory, waves of regret, waves of longing for something he knows he can't recreate. It's in those quiet moments late at night when the distractions fade and the noise dies down that it becomes crystal clear to him. Losing you wasn't just losing a woman. It was losing the rare kind of love that makes a man's life richer, deeper, and fuller. And that's a realization he will carry for the rest of his life. And then here's what makes that realization even more powerful. He starts to understand that the love he lost wasn't just about romance. It was about the stability you provided, the sense of being seen and understood in ways he didn't even know he needed. Because when a real woman loves, she loves with depth. She doesn't just skim the surface. She invests her time, her energy, her heart. She builds a foundation brick by brick, not because she has to, but because she wants to see the person she loves thrive. And when he loses that, he doesn't just lose a partner, he loses the very person who made life feel meaningful in ways he couldn't quite articulate at the time. And at first he may try to convince himself, he'll find someone else who can do the same. He'll think love is everywhere, it's just a matter of time. But over time, he begins to see the difference between someone who wants attention and someone who gives genuine care. He starts to notice the shallow conversations, the lack of consistency, the absence of emotional depth. And that's when he remembers you, not just your presence, but the way you made him feel, like he mattered, even in his weakest moments. He remembers the way you celebrated his wins, no matter how small, and the way you didn't abandon him when things got hard. That type of loyalty doesn't show up every day. And when he's out with someone new, he might laugh, he might have fun, but it won't feel the same. There's always something missing, a spark that doesn't ignite the same way. And when he notices that void, it makes him think back to the times when your love wasn't just exciting, but grounding. That's when the emptiness really begins to sting, because he realizes that no amount of surface level connection can replace the soul-level connection he had with you. And he will look back at the times he didn't show up for you, the times he took your love for granted, the times he chose silence when he should have spoken, or distance when he should have leaned in. Those moments start to replay in his mind like a broken record. And what once seemed insignificant now feels like the reasons everything fell apart. He begins to see how you gave chances, how you extended grace, how you stayed when you could have walked away. And it dawns on him, he wasn't ready, he wasn't present, he wasn't enough. That's the kind of realization that cuts deeper than he ever imagined. And with every passing day, that regret grows heavier. Because when a man loses a real woman, time doesn't heal in the way he expects it to. Time only magnifies the truth. He'll find himself comparing, searching, hoping that maybe the next connection will bring back that same warmth, but it won't. Because the bond you built wasn't transactional. It wasn't about convenience. It was about authenticity. You were real in a world that often feels fake, and losing that kind of authenticity leaves a wound that doesn't close easily. And he might put on a brave face, show the world that he's fine, that he's moved on. But the cracks show in private moments, the sleepless nights, the hesitation before opening old pictures, the pang of jealousy when he imagines you being cherished by someone else. These quiet reminders of you become the soundtrack of his solitude. He can try to drown them out, but the echo always returns. And what makes it even more painful is knowing that he can't undo the past. He can't go back and choose differently. He can't rewrite the story. He has to live with the fact that when he had something extraordinary, he didn't honor it the way he should have. That knowledge becomes a shadow that follows him, even in new relationships, because no matter how much time passes, deep down, he knows he lost something rare, and that kind of loss doesn't fade, it lingers. And what he eventually learns is that losing a real woman isn't just about losing love. It's about losing access to a level of connection that transforms a man's life. A real woman doesn't just bring companionship. She elevates the man she's with. She brings vision. She brings clarity. She brings purpose. She has the ability to make him feel like the best version of himself, even when he doubts it. And when that's gone, he realizes he's not just missing you, he's missing the version of himself that you inspired. That's a kind of loss that no distraction, no rebound, no temporary high can ever replace. And in those moments, when he's forced to sit with himself, when the distractions fade and the noise quiets down, he'll finally see the truth. He'll realize that he didn't just lose a relationship. He lost the woman who loved him with a rare kind of patience, who brought life into his days, who stood by him when others wouldn't. He'll realize that he didn't just lose love, he lost the chance to build something timeless with someone who was willing to build it with him. That's when the regret sharpens, because it's not just about what he lost, it's about what could have been. And every holiday, every milestone, every small victory he experiences, he'll feel the absence. He'll think of how it felt to share those moments with you, how your presence made even the smallest occasions feel monumental. And when he looks around and sees those spaces empty, he'll know the truth, that nothing feels as fulfilling without the person who brought genuine joy into his life. That absence becomes the loudest reminder of all. And then here's the irony. While he's wrestling with this realization, you're evolving, you're growing, you're moving forward with your life, stepping into your power, creating new experiences, building your own joy. You're not waiting for him to figure it out. You've already chosen yourself, and that's what makes the impact of his loss even heavier, because he knows you're not coming back. He knows that the very strength and self-respect that made you extraordinary is the same strength that prevents you from ever settling for less than you deserve again. And the moment that truth fully hits him is the moment everything changes. It's not just sadness, it's a deep, aching awareness that he can't undo the damage, that he can't replace what was lost, that he can't step back into the life where he was held, supported, loved, and believed in the way only you could do it. That realization isn't just painful, it's permanent, and he'll carry it with him no matter where he goes, no matter who he's with, no matter how much time passes. And because the reality is, when he loses a real woman, he doesn't just lose her love, he loses the chance to ever experience life with that level of depth again. And while the world might offer him plenty of distractions, plenty of attention, even plenty of new relationships, he will always know that what he once had was irreplaceable. And that truth will follow him like a shadow, whispering in the back of his mind, reminding him of the love he let slip away. And over time, the silence becomes louder than he ever expected. At first, he thought the world would fill that space easily. He imagined that other voices, other faces, other fleeting connections would be enough to distract him, but they don't. Because when a real woman exits his life, what's left behind is not just silence, it's a hollow emptiness that even the loudest crowd can't drown out. It's not about the absence of noise, it's about the absence of meaning. And every time he tries to cover that emptiness with superficial thrills, the truth only becomes clearer. He lost something far more valuable than he realized. And as days turn into weeks and weeks into months, what once felt exciting begins to feel repetitive. He notices the cycle, temporary highs, fleeting connections, shallow exchanges that never seem to reach the level of depth he once had. And the contrast begins to eat at him. Because with you, he didn't have to pretend. He didn't have to perform. He didn't have to wonder if you really cared. He knew, he felt it, he lived it. That certainty is gone now, replaced by doubt and insecurity. And while he may not admit it out loud, deep down he knows he traded something rare for something forgettable. And he begins to look back differently at moments he brushed off, the times you listened when no one else did, the way you noticed details about him that others overlooked, the way you showed up consistently, even when it wasn't convenient. He recalls how your presence had a calming effect, how your love gave him a sense of safety he didn't appreciate at the time. And when he scans the world around him, he realizes how rare it was. It wasn't ordinary, it wasn't common, it was extraordinary, and he let it slip away. And this realization comes in layers. Sometimes it's a pang of regret when he sees something that reminds him of you. Other times it's a slow, gnawing ache that creeps in late at night when the distractions wear off. But perhaps the heaviest moment of all is when he recognizes that the world is full of people who want love, but very few who know how to give it the way you did. You didn't just give love, you gave understanding. You didn't just give affection, you gave commitment. You didn't just share moments, you built memories. And those kinds of gifts can't be replaced. And he might try to tell himself that you'll always be around, that maybe one day he'll have another chance. But deep down, he knows that's not true. He knows that when a real woman moves forward, she doesn't look back. She doesn't reopen doors that were closed for a reason. And that knowledge makes the regret sting even more, because he realizes he can't simply return to what once was. He lost not just your love, but the opportunity to rebuild it. And the more he reflects, the more he sees how he sabotaged his own happiness. He sees the moments where he chose ego over vulnerability, where he chose distance over closeness, where he thought silence was safer than honesty. And with every reflection comes the bitter truth. He had someone who wanted to grow with him, but he wasn't ready to meet her there. That realization cuts deep, because it's not just about missing you, it's about seeing himself clearly for the first time. He sees the cost of his choices, and it's not something he can escape. And even as he moves on with his life, even as he meets new people, even as he checks off milestones, there will always be a quiet shadow following him, the memory of what it felt like to be with someone who was truly real, because you weren't just a partner, you were a mirror. You reflected back to him the man he was capable of being. You held him accountable, not with judgment, but with belief. You believed in him when he doubted himself. You pushed him when he got complacent. You stood by him when he stumbled. And without you, that mirror is gone. He no longer sees that best version of himself as clearly. And that's why the loss lingers. Because when a man loses a real woman, he doesn't just lose her, he loses the chance to be the man he was with her. He loses the fire that kept him striving, the love that made him feel whole, the partnership that grounded him in a chaotic world. And no matter what he achieves, no matter what he acquires, he'll always feel that something essential is missing. And there will be moments when he tries to rationalize it. He'll tell himself it wasn't meant to be, that maybe it was for the best. He'll cling to excuses that protect his pride, but excuses can't silence the truth. And the truth is, he had someone extraordinary, and he didn't rise to the occasion. He had someone who gave her best, and he failed to match it. He had someone who was real in every sense of the word, and he let her slip through his hands. That is the kind of truth that doesn't just fade, it marks him. And the marking is permanent, because no matter how much time passes, there will always be triggers that bring you back to his mind. A song that plays in the background, a scent that reminds him of you, a phrase someone says that echoes your voice. These small, unexpected reminders will keep returning, each one reopening the awareness that he lost someone he can never replace. And while the world may never know the depth of his regret, he knows, and that knowledge follows him like a shadow he can't outrun. And the hardest part for him isn't just knowing he lost you, it's knowing you thrived without him. It's seeing you glow brighter, live freer, love yourself deeper. It's realizing that you didn't need him to become who you are, but he needed you more than he ever admitted. And as you continue to rise, the contrast between his loss and your gain becomes undeniable. That's when the regret doesn't just sit in his heart, it begins to shape his entire view of what he let slip away. And he'll tell himself that maybe he'll find another love, another chance, another opportunity. But the truth remains, he won't find you again. He won't find your laugh, your strength, your way of making him feel seen without even trying. He won't find the kind of love that was both fire and peace, both passion and patience. That's what makes the loss unbearable, because once you've experienced a real woman, anything less feels empty. Anything less feels incomplete. And then that is the weight he will carry. A weight that grows heavier with time, not lighter. A weight that whispers in quiet moments, reminding him that he once had the rarest gift life offers, a real woman, and he let it go. And as the years continue to unfold, the impact of that loss doesn't just fade into the background, it deepens. At first, he may have believed that time would soften the edges of regret, that new experiences would patch over the emptiness. But instead, time sharpens the clarity of what he let go. Because the older he grows, the more he understands just how rare it is to find someone who loves without conditions, someone who shows up with authenticity, someone who invests with both heart and soul. With each passing year, the recognition grows clearer. He didn't just lose a partner. He lost the kind of love most men spend their lives searching for, but never find. And when he looks back, he begins to see patterns. He notices how often he gravitated toward temporary excitement instead of lasting connection. He realizes how many times he settled for surface-level relationships because he couldn't face the depth that true love requires. And each of those realizations stings because it forces him to admit that he once had the depth, the connection, the authenticity, and he didn't value it when it mattered most. That truth becomes a quiet ache that never leaves. And he will see your worth reflected in unexpected ways. Maybe through conversations with friends who admire the woman you've become. Maybe through glimpses of your success, your growth, your joy in moving forward. And every time he hears about your accomplishments or sees evidence of your happiness, there will be a pang inside him. Not because he doesn't want you to thrive. Deep down, he'll always know you deserved it. But because he knows he doesn't get to share in it anymore. He knows he forfeited his chance to be by your side as you built the incredible life you were destined for. And there comes a moment when he realizes that he isn't just missing who you were, he's missing who you've become. He's missing the woman who evolved after heartbreak, who grew stronger from every challenge, who built herself into someone even more powerful than before. And that's when the loss becomes almost unbearable. Because not only did he lose you, but he also lost the future version of you, the one who keeps rising higher, who keeps shining brighter, who keeps proving that letting go of him wasn't the end of your story, it was the beginning of a greater one. And that realization is heavy because he begins to see how different life could have been if he had chosen to honor you, to grow with you, to protect what you built together. He imagines the life he could have had by your side, the family, the adventures, the shared victories, the quiet moments of peace. And while he might try to suppress those thoughts, they return in moments of stillness, flooding him with visions of what could have been. It's realizing that you didn't need him to become who you are, but he needed you more than he ever admitted. And as you continue to rise, the contrast between his loss and your gain becomes undeniable. That's when the regret doesn't just sit in his heart, it begins to shape his entire view of what he let slip away. And he'll tell himself that maybe he'll find another love, another chance, another opportunity. But the truth remains, he won't find you again. He won't find your laugh, your strength, your way of making him feel seen without even trying. He won't find the kind of love that was both fire and peace, both passion and patience. That's what makes the loss unbearable, because once you've experienced a real woman, anything less feels empty. Anything less feels incomplete. And then that is the weight he will carry. A weight that grows heavier with time, not lighter. A weight that whispers in quiet moments, reminding him that he once had the rarest gift life offers, a real woman, and he let it go. And as the years continue to unfold, the impact of that loss doesn't just fade into the background, it deepens. At first, he may have believed that time would soften the edges of regret, that new experiences would patch over the emptiness. But instead, time sharpens the clarity of what he let go. Because the older he grows, the more he understands just how rare it is to find someone who loves without conditions, someone who shows up with authenticity, someone who invests with both heart and soul. With each passing year, the recognition grows clearer. He didn't just lose a partner. He lost the kind of love most men spend their lives searching for, but never find. And when he looks back, he begins to see patterns. He notices how often he gravitated toward temporary excitement instead of lasting connection. He realizes how many times he settled for surface-level relationships